Hi, it's Nicole and welcome to my channel where I get vocal about workplace bullying, harassment, intimidation, and all actions in between. Now, listen, I am excited. I have my second guest to the channel. This is another fabulous woman that I had the honor of working with. Do you want to give a little bit of backstory about yourself, who you are?
I'm Vanessa. I've been working in the performing arts for the last, I would say, most of my career. Majority of my career is in TV, film, media, advertising. So all in the creative realm of the arts in all capacities, whether it's print, whether it's television, whether it's, radio. I've done it all in the arts field, working for record labels. I've done it all.
Today we are going to get into some details about what it means to work for a Black organization, being a person of color in the arts. When you first got to the organization, what were the warning signs that led you to understand something was going off or something was amiss? Like, was it something you personally experienced or was it something you observed?
For me, it was layers to it because it was immediate. It was definitely immediate. Like, the first thing that I noticed was when I had gotten hired, I was hired by two people. And when I started being trained, I was being trained by one of the two people. And I started noticing how one person when the person that was training me would tell me one thing and would have their one thing that they're teaching me and that they're training me on. And then the other person, I guess you call it Ursula, when I would talk to her, she would have she's saying something completely different. So what was very clear to me is they were not having any conversations. They were not talking to each other. And it didn't help that the person that was training me resigned. And I didn't find out until I actually took the position.
That she was leaving.
What,
a month later?
Yeah, not even a month. It probably was like 2 weeks. Mm. So I'm like, oh, that was my first. And then someone else resigned. And I was like, okay, all right. From there, then on our meetings I would have meetings with people and I would be on these meetings and the group meetings and the individual meetings, the energy would be frustration. Mm-hmm. And at first I thought it was with me, but I was like, well, you're new. Like, frustration can't be with you. You didn't do anything. You're new. The confirmation was when we had an event. We were doing a walkthrough for this event. And as we're doing this walkthrough, Ursula and someone that had been with the organization for years, since like the beginning, they were having an exchange of words, but it was really started by Ursula. So the way she was talking to this woman, who it was confusing for me because initially she had so many nice things to say about her initially, but the way she was talking to her was very belittling. It made me very uncomfortable to the point where I almost wanted to walk away. And the thing is, I think that Ursula thinks that because she talks like soft, that it makes the disrespect less disrespectful.
Can I also add to that the Ursula was talking to an elder. So you're not just talking to someone who was at the organization for an extended period of time. You're talking to someone that's literally your elder.
And that's what really made me uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. This is a little old woman. You know what I'm saying? She's she's an older woman, very sharp, but just how I look at her because of how I was raised to look at my elders, it just really was taken aback that someone of her, she's older than me. So I would think that we all would know how to talk to someone that is our elder.
Ursula is older than you.
Yeah, Ursula's older than me. So I'm looking at her like, I'm just like, oh, this is very uncomfortable for me because she's old. She's an older woman. And why are you talking to her like that? But I just kind of stood there and it took everything in me to stand there because I was just like, this is very disrespectful. Yeah. But don't get me wrong. The older woman was holding her own. She definitely was. But it was just the fact that she even had to do that.
Right.
What made me, that's when I knew this is the reason why everybody's leaving. Mm-hmm. I knew it. At that moment, I knew that. And later it will go on to be confirmed that a lot of people were leaving because of Ursula.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
Now, did you have a personal encounter? So those are things you kind of observed. Was there a personal encounter that was just like red flag?
There was. This was the very first time, because after the person that trained me left, I took on a lot of everything, her job and mine, pretty much. So I remember the first time I came to her about being frustrated. Like, when I tell you guys,
you went to Ursula.
I went to Ursula about being frustrated. I said, "Hey, I'm frustrated. I'm taking on all this work." But she knew. She knew. She laughed. Like, it was weird for me because I had to gather myself for a number of reasons. Because if you know me, you know me. Like, number one, I was thrown all the way off because I just thought, like, you're the leader.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when someone comes to you about being burnt out or stressed out, I should be able to come to you and we could come together, put our heads together and figure out a way to get this, how to alleviate. You laugh like it's funny and then proceed to just try to, and I mean try to, you're not doing this right. You're not doing that right. You're not. And the thing that was crazy to me was you didn't train me.
Right. Or were there ever discussions prior to that would have said you're not doing X, Y, and Z?
They never said anything about all of those things ever. But see, by that time, I kind of ignored all of that because anyone that can laugh I can't take you serious.
Right.
So anything you're saying is just because you clearly feel some type of way that I'm saying something. So you're just going to say whatever just to, to tit for tat the situation. But in my mind, once you laugh, at that point, you're letting me know you're unprofessional.
Right.
That was just not professional. I never in my entire career, and I've been doing this since I was 17, I never experienced anything like that. I thought that was bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, that was bizarre.
So you just embarked on your 1-year anniversary with the organization. You were also the oldest person, the oldest employee there. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not gonna lie. I was really embarrassed by that.
All right.
Like, I'm embarrassed by that because there were people before me that had been at the organization for years, before Ursula, and we got these new people coming in, and I'm like, I'm embarrassed because I've only been there a year. Like, I didn't feel comfortable with being the oldest person there, just because I feel like we should have had better standards than that.
Yeah.
I felt like it just shows the lack of integrity. I felt like, as far as maintaining people.
Yeah.
You're a non-profit, pro-Black organization, supposedly. You can't keep Black people? And what is a pro-Black organization? That is supposed to be for the community.
And not only not keep people, but keep the people that are of the community that you're serving. So it's not like you just have random people working for you. No, you have the most expert folk in the arts working for the organization of the arts. And you can't keep them.
And that's what also was kind of throwing me off a little bit too, was like, these people have been here 7, 8, 9, 10 years, how many ever years, and you get here and now they're the problem. All of a sudden, mind you. And that for me was another, like, by this time, there were already flags going off, but this was like, I'm not gonna lie, with Ursula and the chair of the board, in my mind. All of a sudden, y'all get here and everybody else that has been here longer than you. It makes no sense that everybody else that's been here longer than you is all of a sudden they're the problem.
Yeah.
There was no accountability. I feel like, my expectations of leadership is to be able to problem solve and have good conflict resolution. What you have displayed is you do not have good conflict resolution. It just goes to, if anything, it speaks volumes of you as an organization.
Right.
That you have this leaders and leaderships that just, they can't, these individuals who obviously cannot lead.
Right.
Because how do you not have good retention as something that you had people that were passionate about it? Because like you said, these were creatives. Right? These people that were invested prior to you being here were invested in their jobs, were invested in what they were doing. All of a sudden you get here and that just changes.
Well, and I will add to that it wasn't just a she got there and things changed. It was a she got there, people tried, and it just couldn't. The older people tried, and it just couldn't work under her. She got new people, and those new people couldn't last. So all of those are still red flags. You have older people who's like, okay, we'll try to tough it out because we know that you're not the most qualified, you're not the most equipped, you're not the most knowledgeable, but we want to be able to support you, right? Because we can't say we're pro-Black, see you in this position struggling and not really want to get behind that, but who you are as a person is making that difficult.
And I think that was a big thing for me too, was knowing that I know I've tried to help in different ways and try to make suggestions. I know we all did. And it was a lot of ego, you know? And I think when you start to get to a point where you have to kind of dim your light,
right?
It's like, okay, I have to dim my light to make you feel big, to where you're not even getting the best version of me.
Right.
I know what I'm capable of if given the right environment, the right, leadership. I know what I'm capable of. But it's like being in a space where, you're not really bringing anything that's bringing out the best in anyone. You know what I mean? And it's like it felt like we were literally just getting by.
Yeah.
And she was okay with that. And for me, I was really, really, really disappointed in that, because there was so much more that we could have been doing.
I mean, we were also eager to learn and grow and want to be supportive and contributors to each other and the wellness of the organization. But to have a leader whose mission or goal and intentions wasn't that, it was just very difficult.
And what's even crazier is your whole former staff are all cool. We all speak. We're all good. The only person that nobody really cares for is, I think I know we could speak to this. For a long time, and you have had to get me to realize I was trying so hard to give the benefit of the doubt. I was trying my hardest to be like, well, maybe I felt like I gave, it's her favorite word, I gave her so much grace. Like it was literally, I was blue in the face and couldn't breathe anymore. And it was like, girl, you got to just realize this is exactly what it is. Because I tried my hardest, like to the point where y'all were like, Vanessa. And I'm like, but no, like, trying to make excuses, trying to, see the good in it, that's how I know. Like I literally tried everything possible to make this a positive experience and try to turn a negative into a positive. I literally exhausted every fiber in my core being trying to make this be something that is just not.
Yeah. You went to an HBCU and you are a part of a, affluential Black family. And you are like the most blackety black person ever. What is your definition of being pro-Black? And what was that experience like working for an organization that was kind of opposite of that? Or,
I feel like, number one, pro-Black, I think it's more of from just seeing it through the lens of, I think, how I was raised, more so, like in talking to, whether it's my grandmother or my great-grandparents, and it may not be necessarily direct, but things I pick up from them, or my great aunt. Like I have conversation with a lot of my elders in my family, and to me, pro-Blackness is really more of an action than anything. It's not something you can really say. Right? Like, it's not something pro-Blackness has grown to be a trend now,
Yeah.
right? Rather than a state of being. Pro-Blackness is how we talk to each other. It's the basic everyday things, how we talk to each other, how we treat each other. Because, and then that was a turn off. That's what was the turn off for me within the organization, right? Was how to have someone disrespect you. You know, these are the reasons why we left corporate.
Right.
You know, to come to a Black organization, what we felt would be a safe haven for us to not have to deal with the white supremacy that we dealt with in corporate America.
Right.
But when you see that they take pages out of that white supremacist book and weaponize their resources, their knowledge, their name, their whatever, to weaponize or status or position against fellow Black people, it really makes you question, okay, are y'all even pro-Black? Because that is really a day-to-day act. That is being mindful of how I talk to you. That is being accountable for how I treat you. That is being accountable for how we even work together, the environment I set, because I understand being the executive director of a Black organization is being front of mind the environment you are setting for these Black people.
Right.
Pro-Blackness is not just an outward thing, it's an inward thing. We think it's this grand thing, but it's really even just as simple as how I treat you. Because when you go into the world, you're fighting them. You're fighting the dominant society. So that didn't have to come in here and fight with me, someone who looks like you, because I'm being elitist and I'm treating you as if you're less than me.
Right. And we're supposed to be the example of how society is supposed to treat us.
Right.
Yet we're mistreating each other.
And it makes you look at, no disrespect, a lot of these nonprofit organizations crazy. You see how a lot of people are in the news for different things, but I'm learning more and more every day that a lot of this is really a facade. It's really not really about being pro-Black.
Which I think where we struggle. Yeah. Because we are not a facade. We are out here on the real trying to be better, do better, make things better for us as a whole, as as equals, and then you have people abusing that or utilizing this opportunity to advance their own personal agenda.
It's like really just like people just coming here to social climb. That's it. You're just coming here to social climb up your profile because you want to be seen a certain way amongst certain circles. It's really not about doing the work, because doing the work is internal first. You know what I mean? Doing the work is, wow, I offended you. Wow, I'm sorry. Or wow, it's more than just, I'm going to prop myself up here and I'm going to wear this gown and sit around all these, affluent people and make millions and make all this money from all these corporations and call myself pro-Black because it's marketable. That's really all it is. And you see the world is catching on to it, because we see some of the biggest organizations catching stuff coming out about some of these nonprofits. To me, it's just really disheartening, because it's like, I never worked in, nonprofit before.
Oh, this was your first?
This was my first.
Well, okay, so I want to personally apologize.
Oh,
that this is your first experience, and this was the outcome.
Right. But I felt like I thought that this would feel more personally rewarding because it's a community organization, and it's a Black organization that has a long, rich history. So I thought, wow, I felt honored to work, for this organization. But I really feel more sad now because I think initially it was, keyword, was.
Yeah.
I think the people that started it had a vision.
Right.
And I believe they really stood on what they were about. I think all the people that donated money and propped it up, all the affluent performers, people associated with it, I think they had good intentions.
Right.
But unfortunately, with this time of social climbers, elitism, I think that got lost. It's still, they say it, but they don't do it.
The actions.
And again, it shows in how we work with each other. I wasn't feeling very passionate about it anymore, because it was like, I'm starting to feel like this is really about image.
And I think that's the The unfortunate part is when you, the artist, the lover, the fighter, the advocator, starts to feel disconnected from the passion.
Right.
Especially when the people who are giving you that disconnect are people who are not really of it for real. And it's like, dang, I shouldn't allow someone who is not of this world influence how I see it.
Mm.
But what other way do you have to view that when the outcome is what it is? Meaning, no one is interested in making sure that the person who is making this experience horrible is no longer available to make that situation.
But here's the thing, and I think it didn't even have to be, because I think it didn't even have to be that extreme to me. Am I like just really genuinely speaking of conflict resolution, effective conflict resolution? Like, she didn't even have to get fired.
Right. And I don't think anybody ever wanted it to get that point. It was just a matter of,
it was like she could have just simply, number one, knock it off.
right.
That's on the chair. Cut it. Number two, let's really put you in a workshop class.
Right.
Teach you how to manage an organization. Because, I mean, let's be real. I'm not going to sit here and say I expect someone to just get it. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes you need to just be molded. And that's okay, too. It's fine. I mean, I feel like to some capacity, we all do. Right? To some capacity, right? In different ways. We're all not perfect. We all don't know everything. We all don't always know. But I feel like if there was, hey, boundaries set by the upper team, and then there was, hey, take a class. And like, you know, even if we all took one, fine. But there should have been something done where it was beneficial to the entire team.
And to be honest with you, the fact that there wasn't is what gives me angst. The fact that everything you're saying is correct. However, those who should have been making sure that she got the proper help and guidance that she needed weren't putting that effort into her succeeding in that way.
But you know what makes it even worse to me? That they don't see that as just lack of expectation on their part.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even expect more. You don't even want more out of her.
And
like,
that's the thing. We did. You know what I mean?
It was almost like we meant her more well than they did.
Right.
Because the thing is, I don't think that it was impossible for her. I think she could have been just fine, taking a workshop, getting better, you know, just bettering herself. That would have been cool. I don't, you know, but I felt like
to a certain degree, I think there's some.
Well, yeah, there's some
psychological issues.
Right. I do think there are some things. Yeah. But I think overall, there should have been we have expectations of you. We believe you can meet those expectations. Therefore, here's what we want you to do. There was none of that. And then here's one thing that would be said. One thing they would say that I would be like, my eyes would literally pop, because I would just be like, and she would be sitting there, and I would have been insulted if I was her, because I would be told,